my sisters and brothers. I'm a organizer for 50 years and a lawyer for 19 years. I'm the lawyer for the state NAACP, the oldest civil rights organization in the world. We have 20,000 members in North Carolina. We have 100 branches across the state. We have a branch here in Charlotte, which I bet there's no NAACP members here. One. Thank you.
I got my up.
Two. Very good. Let me do two stipulations. We are now in crisis. Crisis means a potent combination of danger and opportunity. How we act during these times to provide guidance to our children and other living creatures here in the heart of America will determine the course of the world and our country for years to come. Those are stipulations. Now let me do a quick closing argument. Based on my almost 71 years and 50 years of struggle in the anti-racism and anti-war movements that SNCC and SCEP and Dr. King melded in the mid-1960s, as we grasped the symbiotic relationship between the corrupting twin pillars of our society, that is racism and war. I want to talk about racism in 1 minute, but when I say war, I want to make sure there's also some understanding of what I mean by it. That is the military, economic, and political penetration of sovereign nations for cheap labor and new markets, using the tried and true 3 M's that my brother Stokely Carmichael, Carmi, and Turi, who just died a few years ago, used to talk about in the 60s: Marines, money, and missionaries. Now today in North Carolina, and I want to follow up on Reverend Yearwood how we need to go about organizing. I think there's a lot of agreement about what needs to be done, but we need to build this movement. In North Carolina, we're fortunate. I know my sister feels a little isolated over in Greensboro, but there's a movement that has begun in North Carolina, a strong anti-racist movement that has been brought together with a new leadership and new infrastructure forming. We're fortunate to be blessed with the far-sighted leadership of Reverend Dr. William J. Barber, a 43-year-old brother from Goldsboro, North Carolina, who came to Greensboro and knocked out a corrupt leadership of the NAACP in a bold move and hit the ground running. We had 4,800 people in Raleigh on the birthday of the NAACP, the 98th birthday, and brought an anti-war, anti-poverty, and anti-racism agenda to the people's house that we should own. And we've learned a lot over the last 3 months in pushing that as to how corrupt the people's house has become. We have begun the process of building what we call PACs, that is People's Agenda Caucuses and Political Action Caucuses in every congressional district in the state, some following along the lines of PDA, which is also forming along congressional district lines. And we will be building massive voter registration around an anti-racist, anti-poverty, and anti-war agenda across the state of North Carolina, here in Charlotte, in Greensboro, but particularly in the eastern part of North Carolina, which has 30 to 40% African Americans. Let me just say one other thing. The Nixon-Cheney-Bush Southern strategy ushered in the period we are now trying to close out. We saw that in 1970, from about 1970 till today. Many of you don't remember, but Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld came to Washington to shut down the anti-poverty war. Cheney came to work with Bush. Rehnquist came to develop the Patriot Act, which sat on the shelves over there until after 9/11 when they dusted it off. So this, what we are facing now is 30 to 40 years of disenfranchisement from the brief glimmer of enfranchisement that we got during the 60s. What we've just seen with Gonzales, Goodling et al. Is the caging, the raging caging, we call it, that they did in Florida, in Texas, in Arkansas, as they began their cover is coming off as to how they stripped black people of the vote in both 2000 and 2004. Both felony offenses. If one of us tried to do that, we'd be in jail for 25 years. And this was dreamed up and talked about and designed and carried out by George W. Bush and Karl Rove. So I hope we get around to talking about caging when we open it up.
Thank you very much. Next we have David Swanson.